SE16, your home for everything Ithaca and Nashville. It starts right now.
Hello and welcome to the SE16 podcast alongside Matt Rahemba and Salty Steve. I'm Joe Narsuccio. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode. This week, Sports Illustrated senior writer for the NFL, Greg Bedard, joins us on the show. Greg, thanks for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, so we're going to get started in the NFL. Busy offseason so far. What teams are the winners and what teams are the losers at this point?
That's a really good question, a really tough question, and one that I usually try to avoid, especially considering that the draft hasn't happened yet. You really can't look at a team's off-season until that's over with, and you sort of see the team that they're going with to training camp. But just off the top of my head, I liked what the Bears did in free agency. I thought they addressed a lot of places where they were weak. I think that the Patriots did a nice job, with the Revis and Browner, getting both of them. The Ravens, I think, did very well repositioning themselves in the AFC North, but a lot's going to depend on what transpires on the offensive line. As far as other teams, I like where the Colts are at this point. That's just going off the top of my head, but those are the teams that stand out.
Now, is there a team so far in free agency that you think really made a leap compared to where they were last year at this point in the NFL offseason that really you could say they made a leap to become contenders this upcoming season?
I don't really do that, and I'll tell you why. I will tell you that I think that, when you're talking about free agency and the draft, despite the conventional wisdom and what the NFL tries to sell people, neither of those two things are vehicles to make your team instantly better. Rarely will you see a team either sign a big free agent or sign a bunch of free agents and all of a sudden become a contender the next year. The same thing with the draft. The guys that are taken in the draft, few and far between who really have a big impact in year one. So, I think they're very good. I mean, it's the only way to build a team through both vehicles, but I think that's what it's about. It's about building, and it's about going, down through into the future. But I will say that I think that, a team like the Ravens, adding, a guy like Steve Smith, Owen Daniels, they had a lot of problems with the targets for Joe Flacco last year. They already have a pretty good defense. I think they are a team that you can look at and say they have improved themselves to this point.
So which team do you think took a step backward and really lost pieces to the puzzle so far this offseason going into next year?
Looking through the list, and I do want to add, I think the Falcons did a pretty good job at adding some pieces. As far as teams that, lost some things, Jaguars are another team that did a good job. I think that the Bengals were a little bit puzzling with, what they did in free agency, both in, letting a guy like Michael Johnson go and really not doing much in free agency overall. They also let, Hawkins go, the wide receiver, on a offer sheet. I think the Cowboys didn't really have an opportunity to do very much. They lost DeMarcus. They had to let DeMarcus Ware go pretty much because of the contract. Tampa, I think, while they're heading in the right directions, the whole Revis decision was a bit puzzling to me, considering that they don't have to pay a franchise quarterback yet, and they won't have to for a couple of years, even if they draft one. So why not try to keep Revis on the team for a year and see what you have, and just to let him go and not get nothing in return? I thought that was puzzling.
Now, more specifically, we're going to focus on the Broncos here. They replaced Champ Bailey with Keith Leavin. A couple years ago, they lost Elmis Dummerville. They replaced him with DeMarcus Ware. Do you think that these defensive signings will propel them back to the Super Bowl and hopefully win this time?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think that DeMarcus Ware, I really like that I really like that signing. As far as Aqib Talib, he's a guy that I covered with the Patriots. I was never a fan of his signing because he's a big risk both off the field and on the field as far as injuries. So, I don't think that they necessarily filled a lot of holes. I do like the Emmanuel Sanders pickup. The signing that I really liked that they did was T.J. Ward, the strong safety. I think that was a piece that they were really missing. But they've done a good job. I just wouldn't say that Aqib Talib that's an even split with losing DRC. So I think they have improved themselves, but I wouldn't say that they are head and shoulders above say the Patriots in the AFC after what they've done.
Now, going over to the AFC East now, you look at a team like the New York Jets, and they always seem to find themselves in the news at this point in the offseason. I got to ask, there's been a lot of commotion going on around the Mike Vick signing. I just want to know, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that move by the Jets to bring him in?
I thought it was a great move. You don't have anything in this league unless you have a quarterback, and I think the jury is still very much out on Geno Smith on whether he's going to be that guy long term. And I think that Michael Vick is a guy who I've seen a lot in his time in the league, can really help Geno navigate some things. And the bottom line is Michael Vick had improved himself to the point last year before he got hurt, where he was a little bit more consistent, which has been his biggest problem in the league, and he was pretty effective. And if Geno doesn't work out, it's good that they finally have a good backup, because we've seen what they've done in the past. I mean, when they had Mark Sanchez, they had no other options. I am not in favor of that. So, the more the better, as far as I'm concerned, at the quarterback position.
All right, so what do you think was the best singular move this offseason? Was it Darrelle Revis to the Patriots? Was it DeMarcus Ware to the Broncos? Or was it something else?
Provided any other things that I can't think of right now. I think the Revis thing, short term, was the best move, because I think that he is a singular player, and I think he, especially his second year after ACL surgery, he's going to be even better, and he's going to allow Belichick to do a lot of different things. But the thing is that right now that's only 1 year and $12 million. The hope is that he gets inside the building, he tastes success, he likes the atmosphere, and he says, you know what, I'm not gonna be a mercenary anymore, and I'm gonna re-up, and I'll take less than market value for my services. If they do that, if that happens, then I think it's a no-brainer that the Revis move is the best move this offseason. But that's something that won't be decided for a couple of years, or at least another year.
Now, getting away from off-season free agent signings, we're going to focus on the draft right now. There are a lot of hyped-up players. You have Johnny Manziel, Jadeveon Clowney, and Sammy Watkins. But who do you think can come into the league and make an immediate impact on the team that drafts them?
Who's going to make the most immediate impact?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I think that I think a guy, depending on where he lands, I think that a guy like Teddy Bridgewater has the best chance of making an immediate impact, because I think he is far more advanced and ready for the NFL game because of what he was asked to do in college than a lot of the other quarterbacks in the league. Now, I do think that a guy like Johnny Manziel, depending on where he lands, could make an instant impact. I think a guy, a guy like Aaron Donald, the defensive tackle out of Pittsburgh, I think he is a plug-and-play guy, and as long as he's in a 4-3 scheme and playing a 3 technique, I think that he instantly makes that defense better. I think, when you talk about some of the other guys, like, Clowney, Robinson, Mack, Barr, those guys are going to take some time to acclimate themselves. Just about any wide receiver, that's what you deal with the pro game, because they're not used to seeing man coverage in college, so it's a big change for them. But Some other guys that I think will have an instant impact are like, Clinton Dix, the safety from Alabama. I think he's a plug-and-play guy. C.J. Mosley from Alabama as well. Those guys are well-versed in the NFL game, have played in an NFL scheme in Alabama, and, should fit in quite nicely wherever they land in the NFL.
Now, in your eyes, if you're the Houston Texans, do you think there's really any quarterback in this draft that's worth taking with that number 1 pick, or would you use that pick to go elsewhere in the draft if you're the Houston Texans?
Well, it's an interesting question, and I think it's one that NFL teams are constantly debating because, if you don't have a quarterback in this league, you don't have anything. And so, are you okay with taking a positional guy, say at number 1, and then taking a quarterback in the second round? I have my doubts about that. I mean, I think, when you're talking about the Texans, the first choice would obviously be to trade down, and that's what you're really hoping for, and I think they have a decent shot at doing that, and I think that makes it a little easier to execute your game plan. But, if you've identified a quarterback that you think is going to be your franchise guy, I would not wait and pass on him. I mean, if you think Johnny Manziel is the guy, then I would take him first overall because I think that Johnny is a special talent. He's a rare talent. I think he's the future of this league. I think a lot of people in the NFL can't see that right now, and the NFL's often very slow and behind the curve when it comes to this stuff. But if you're an outside-the-box thinker, then I would take a Johnny Manziel. Any of the other guys, Bortles needs too much work. Bridgewater, I really like, but he might be a tough sell for the top 10. But I think that Manziel is a transcendent talent, so you would think about it taking him number 1.
All right, so looking later in the draft, who do you think is the biggest sleeper in the NFL draft this year?
You're asking the wrong guy because I don't really deep dive on the draft that much. I mean, I look at the top guys who are going to have an instant impact. I will say one guy that I have studied almost accidentally from studying Blake Bortles is the UCF running back Storm Johnson, who I think he is a guy who will go anywhere from the 3rd to the 5th round. But I think he has a chance to make an instant impact and be a starter almost from day 1 in this league. And it just tells you how they view running backs in the league when a guy like that, can be a day 3 draft pick yet, can be effective and play right away.
All right, so you wrote an article a couple weeks ago about Michael Sam. He just came out as an openly gay man, but he also won SEC Defensive Player of the Year. What impact did he make on a team that drafts him in the later rounds, like you said? And could all this attention that he brings to a team be positive or negative?
I don't think the attention is going to be that much. Especially, it depends on where he's drafted. I mean, if he's drafted by the Jaguars, no one's really going to hear about it. If it's in New York or another high-profile team, you might hear something. But when you talk about Michael Sam, he's got a very uphill battle as far as making it in the league. I mean, I've talked to some teams in recent weeks, and I haven't talked to everybody. I haven't even talked to a majority of the league, but I haven't talked to anybody so far that has him rated as a draftable prospect, which does not surprise me because that was my initial impression studying him, that he is because there's so few edge rushers in this draft, it's really weak there. Maybe a team takes a flyer on him in the 6th or 7th round, but really when you look at his overall gameplay, I think it's stronger odds, just based on football. I mean, somebody might draft him for other reasons, but I think that he really should be an undrafted prospect and try to make a team that way. I mean, that's how challenged of a prospect he is.
Now, looking at a guy at Alabama, A.J. McCarron, there's been a lot of question marks about him going into this NFL draft, but I just want to know, what are your thoughts on A.J. McCarron? Do you think he could have success in this league someday?
I think he's going to be challenged too. I just think that he was a solid player. He was a good player at Alabama, but he was surrounded by ridiculous talent, and it is not going to be that clean in the pocket for him when he goes on to the next level. I mean, I think he's the type of guy who's constantly going to be in competition, for a roster spot and, for a starting job someplace where maybe they don't have a franchise quarterback. But, I think he's at least an extremely good backup. But, he could be I would say a middle-of-the-line starter in this league, but that's about it. He's just a little bit challenged athletically to be more than that.
All right, looking specifically at the New England Patriots, who do you see later in the draft they could be taking? There's a lot of speculation about them drafting a quarterback. Is there anyone available that could take the Ryan Mallett role as the heir apparent to Brady?
Well, the Patriots, have certainly stuff that they're looking for. I don't have a specific name for you, but I would not be surprised if they take a quarterback at some point, and it might even be, say, earlier, like second or third round or something like that, because they do have to, get planning for the end of Brady. And, like you said, Mallett, that he's going into a contract year, and, he's not going to be back next season. So they need to start making plans about who is going to be the backup down the road.
All right, Greg, those are all the questions that we have for you. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and it's always a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, have a good one. That was Greg Bedard, senior NFL writer at Sports Illustrated. He previously wrote for the Green Bay Packers, Miami Dolphins, and the New England Patriots. And, guys, what do you think of what he had to talk about?
Well, it was surprising. He talked about, A.J. McCarron. I thought it was a little surprising what he had to say about A.J. McCarron. He is a guy that has a lot of question marks coming out of Alabama. As he said, he was surrounded with insane talent. He had a lot of great guys around him to really protect him at Alabama. And, he said he's not going to have that necessarily when he gets to the NFL level. So he said he's going to have some challenges, but, he sees him as a midline, possible backup, really good backup, as he said in the draft someday, in the NFL someday. So I was a little surprised about that, but Salty, what do you think about it?
Well, I think the A.J. McCarron thing, it's hard to tell, especially someone coming from that good a system, how they're going to adjust to the NFL. But the other thing we were talking about was the Houston Texans at the top of the draft. The obvious names are there, but he didn't mention Khalil Mack, a linebacker that's at the top of many people's mock drafts. He was talking about quarterbacks for the Texans and Jadeveon Clowney, and I thought that it was interesting that those were the two people.
He mentioned the Texans trading down. I actually think that could be a great idea.
It could be a possible
they
thing.
could get two things out of the. They can get a future draft pick for maybe like a really bad team right now. They could get a player that's immediate impact, ready to come on and make some waves for their team. I mean, maybe a wide receiver they could trade for. Andre Johnson's on his way out, and then they have DeAndre Hopkins coming up.
Yeah, you're right. But he said he's really high on Teddy Bridgewater and possibly him going to the Tech. He wouldn't be surprised if he goes to the Texans with a number one pick or ends up on the team, because he said you're not going to do much in the league without a quarterback. You could draft receivers, you could draft running backs, guys like that, but you're not going to do much in the NFL without a quarterback. So, he's really high on Teddy Bridgewater, as we mentioned before, and maybe it's a stretch, the number one pick with Teddy Bridgewater. Not many people really have him going top 10, but as he said, he wouldn't be surprised.
But you never know. You never know. The quarterback
never.
rankings have been fluctuating week by week. One day it was Johnny Manziel to possibly number one, and then the next day he was
Blake
And the draft is so unpredictable, too. Yeah. You could do all the mock drafts that you want to do, but once the draft comes, no one knows what's going to happen. And you could see possible pick like that happening in this upcoming NFL draft. So it should be interesting to see what happens in this next week in the NFL draft.
Jonah, one thing you said a minute ago that was talking about the Texans trading down and drafting a wide receiver with their first-round pick. And I honestly don't see much value in that, because this NFL draft is one of the deepest wide receiving classes has been in a long time. I don't see the need for drafting Sammy Watkins.
And you can even possibly go with a quarterback. Here's the thing. If you're the Texans, why not take Jadeveon Clowney with that first pick? Because you have quarterbacks that could possibly make an impact later in the later rounds. You never know what can
happen.
happen.
The quarterback is
and,
the quarterback.
And as you mentioned, the receivers. It's a very deep receiving draft. So
if they want another receiver to go alongside Andre Johnson, there will be someone available in the second, third, fourth round. Jadeveon Clowney, I don't understand why the Texans want him. He doesn't fit their defensive system.
But him and J.J. Watt.
That'd be unstoppable. But Jadeveon Clowney would have to drop back in coverage way more than we ever saw at South Carolina. But the thing about him at South Carolina is he barely played, so we don't actually know how much he can actually do.
Yeah, a lot. He is an incredible overall specimen of an athlete, but he really got hyped up because of the play that he made against Michigan in the Outback Bowl. That was really when he made the impact of Jadeveon Clowney's here.
But he is a great football player. You can't take that away.
But the thing that really, I think, the
thing that brought him on
the overall spectrum and into our eyes, into everyone's world, is the hit against Michigan. I'm not, I didn't really watch him play that much. We're in New York. You don't really get to see South Carolina play that much.
He didn't actually play in all their games. He pretty much held himself out of playing football games for South Carolina.
Yeah, he's just I don't want to. Whatever.
That's a question mark for anybody.
Questionable work ethic.
A questionable work ethic, and that could be a big question mark going into.
But I feel like he's going to be getting paid a lot of money.
That's without
and
a doubt.
I think that's going to motivate him to go out and actually maybe.
I think we can all guarantee top 5 pick for Jadeveon Clowney.
He knew he was going to go to the NFL. He knew he was going to be a top 5 pick. He made the choice to sit out Steve Spurrier, let him sit out. I mean, there's not much you could do there.
Which is ridiculous if you're Steve Spurrier. I mean, you're going to let one of your star players sit out.
Yeah, I mean, they could have
because he feels he doesn't need to play. He feels like he should be in the NFL already.
That's always not a good motive to have as a player.
We can talk about Clowney sitting out all day, but I want to take a look at Johnny Football.
I would love to.
One thing that was mentioned was Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel. If Houston thinks he's the guy, that they're going to take him number one.
They need to take him.
But where do you guys see Johnny Manziel going in this?
I see Johnny Manziel going number 1 to the Houston Texans because right now the Texans' need is on offense. They need a quarterback. Okay, that's the biggest need for them right now.
There's no more Matt Schaub.
And if you look, and Matt Schaub, he was a very good quarterback.
Yeah, he's a great quarterback.
He's out of town now.
Yeah, he's out of town, and they need someone to come in and fill his role. And I feel like right now, if you look at a guy like Johnny Manziel, he's from Texas. He played at Texas A&M. He's been in Texas his whole life. Why not go out and draft a guy like Johnny Manziel? He's a great player. Yeah. We've all seen him play at Texas A&M. We've all seen the things he's been able to do at Texas A&M. He's got the arm. He's got he's able to run around. He's an elusive quarterback. He could be, if you surround him with a good offensive line, he could make some impact. He can make a huge impact, I feel like, in the NFL.
He could definitely make a huge impact in the NFL.
It's just the injury. The thing that worried me about him is the injury thing. We saw RG3 get injured at Washington. That's the biggest thing that I think is
RG3's always had knee problems, and Mike Shanahan's notorious for playing players when they're injured.
That's true.
Mike Shanahan is credited to be ruining Terrell Davis's
but he
career
did have
a
some
while back.
Runs, though.
But back to Manziel, you really think if he's the number 1 pick in the draft, he's not going to let that go to his head, be way overconfident, and crash and burn when he gets to the NFL? That's what I think will happen.
He won the Heisman. He won the Heisman. He won the Heisman as a freshman,
and he threw more touchdowns.
He actually had better numbers. He had better numbers.
He threw a few more interceptions. He threw a lot more this season than he did compared to the year he won the Heisman. So I mean, I don't think Johnny Manziel. We all know he likes to party. He likes to have fun.
He likes to be cocky. I love it.
I'm not taking that away from him. He can do what he wants. He can party all he wants. But when he steps on the field, I haven't heard one thing about his work ethic. That hasn't been one question mark about his work ethic. All I hear about Johnny Manziel is that whenever he's at A&M, he works hard, he put in hours, and it showed on the field for him.
I see Johnny Manziel. I see the Texans trading down, like Greg said.
I don't know. I feel like that'd be too risky. For them.
It's very
and
dangerous.
With a wide receiver draft.
I see him going to Oakland at 5. I see him going to Oakland
at 5.
I see him
even though Oakland just added Matt Schaub.
No.
Yeah. I mean, why would they?
They have Matt Schaub and Terrell Pryor.
No, they traded.
Oh yeah, they traded Terrell Pryor.
Terrell Pryor went to Seattle.
It's all good.
Here's where I see Johnny Manziel going. Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel. He's going to pull the Aaron Rodgers. He's going to pull the Brady Quinn, and he's going to fall into the 20s. And I see him going number 26.
Wait, did you just compare Aaron Rodgers and Brady Quinn?
They both fell down the first round of the draft board when they were at the top of the list, Jonah. Get with the program.
Well, I know, but they're two completely different. Where's Brady Quinn now?
Well, I'm not talking about what their success is.
Who's your comparison?
I said that he's going to pull an Aaron Rodgers.
Who?
Johnny Manziel. He's going to pull an Aaron Rodgers. He's going to pull a Brady Quinn, and he's going to fall down the first round board to number 26.
With all the teams that need quarterbacks?
Number 26 to the Cleveland Browns.
That's ridiculous.
The Cleveland Browns will get him with their second first round pick.
There's no way he goes past 16.
Why is that ridiculous?
There's no way he's going to go past 5.
Number 5?
There's no way. You got top 5 picks. You got
if he was to plummet, he'd go to number 16. Jerry, do you really think Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys are going to let Johnny Manziel slip right out of their fingers?
Dallas Cowboys, a guy that's born and raised in Texas.
And then before that, you have the Titans.
Even if he
you have the Bills.
Even if he does fall to 16, you really think that the Dallas Cowboys are going to let him slide?
Okay, if he falls to 16 to the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones has said it time and time again.
Now.
He is committed to Tony Romo.
But
Johnny Manziel is a risk.
But when's the last time Tony Romo's led them to the playoffs?
Never. Once. I don't know. No one knows it. He goes to every playoff game, and wherever he goes, they blow
every
it.
single playoff game that he sits in, the team loses that he roots for.
Stars
lost.
Mavericks
the Mavericks lost. Didn't he go to a Duke game earlier in the year?
Yeah, they lost.
They lost. You got the top 5 picks. You got the Texans, the Rams, the Jaguars, the Browns, and then the Raiders at number 5.
The Rams aren't.
And then you have the Vikings at 8. You have the Bills at 9. And I'd pick Johnny Manziel over E.J. Manuel any day.
Absolutely.
He was hurt for most of the year, and you had to go with Thad Lewis.
But when you pick a quarterback like the Bills did last year, you need to give him a couple of years, especially when it was a first-round pick and it was a controversial selection. You need to give him a couple of years.
Well, he didn't show you much to really make you say.
He was injured. You can't take someone's job away without giving him a chance.
So what? Even when he did play, he didn't show that
much.
Why
don't they?
Even when
the Bills
he did
need
play,
to go and add to the offensive line to
much.
protect E.J. Manuel so he doesn't get hurt again.
Well, he got hurt, and then he came back and he got hurt again. I mean, yes, when he was there, he looked like the top 10 pick that he was, but I don't even think he should have been a top. Oh, no one. I don't think he should not have gone in the first round.
It was just a weak draft for quarterbacks.
Like this one is too.
And Johnny Manziel is no way he's going to fall past top 5.
You think this is a weak?
The teams that need quarterbacks, there's no way he's going to fall past the 5th pick.
There's 2 quarterbacks in this draft that can make an impact in the NFL. Johnny Manziel and Teddy Bridgewater.
I disagree. I don't think
Blake Bortles is not at that level. And the thing
Blake Bortles could be like a Blaine Gabbert type situation. He's coming out of a small school that's not known for football, and I feel like he could have Blaine Gabbert written all over him. He goes to a weak team, and he just completely collapses on that team.
Fizzles out.
I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying it could be a possible situation where we do see that happening to Blake.
I just don't want to see Johnny Manziel go to a really bad team like maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then he fizzles out too.
And listen, E.J. Manuel, when he played last year, his best I
being a Jets fan, Rahamba.
I'm a Jets.
I love when people
Jonah and
play
I are
well
both
against
Jets
the Jets.
fans.
Just to Jonah's point, the Jaguars don't have a first-round pick, so you don't have to worry about him going to the Jaguars.
Well, they're picking 3rd.
No, they're 3rd in the draft, Salty.
Whoa, I misread that. Khalil Mack is. I'm over it.
We need like a PTI thing where we just correct everything that we say at the end of the show.
Yeah, like
we
need like Pete.
I messed up. I said what I say?
You said Terrell Pryor
was still on the Raiders. Yeah.
And Salty's having.
We have fun with it.
It's a fun time.
We own up to our mistakes. Let's be honest. But enough with the NFL draft, Jonah. What do we got up next for us?
You guys know what's coming up. I mean, it's
the biggest story there is.
Donald Sterling. What do you guys take out of this?
Matthew, you go number 1 on this one. Let us know what you think.
Number 1?
Yeah, what are your thoughts? Do you think it should have happened? Do you think it was the right way to go down?
Absolutely, 100%, 110%, 150. I absolutely, without a doubt, agree that he deserved to be banned from the NBA for life. There's no way that you can be an owner of a professional NBA team where 75% of your players in the league are African American. There's no way you can go out and say, I don't want black people to come to my games. There is no way. First of all, there's the fact that you're gonna lose money. You're gonna lose money. People aren't gonna show up to your games. Hold up, Salty. I'm talking. I'm talking, Salty. I am talking right now. You will have your chance, sir. There is no way you can say I don't want black people to come to my games when there's a fact that you're gonna lose money, and Adam Silver has a right to go out and protect the league, and he has to do that. And there's no way you could be Adam Silver and go out and say, "Oh, no way." You know what? We'll let this wait till the end of the season. We'll suspend him right now, and we'll wait till the end of the season till we go out and make a move. No, Adam Silver, he had to do this move. He had to ban him from life, and there's no doubt that he is going to get those 29 votes that he needs to ban this man from owning the Los Angeles Clippers. I absolutely 100% agree with the move, and I commend Adam Silver, if you are listening to this, which you're probably not, I commend you for making this move, because this was a move that you had to make, and there was no way that you could let this man around an NBA team after what he said. It doesn't matter if it was said in the privates of his home. It was recorded, it was brought out to the public's eye, and there's no way that you can let this man stay in the league after what he said.
All right, Salt, you can try and match that. Go ahead.
Well, I do think that Matthew Rahemba is correct in his statement. It's definitely a strong move by Adam Silver for what he did, banning Donald Sterling. But here's where I question it, and this isn't a basketball question. This is a question about our society, and I really question whether you can punish somebody for saying what they think. For thinking, how can you punish what someone thinks, and how can you punish what they say?
I'm going to moderate this.
Hold on.
Okay, Jonah can moderate this.
Yes, he's moderating this, but he just went on like a 5-minute rant there. So I feel like I should get my time of day light in the sun.
Go for it.
Because in American society, we have agreed as a group, as Americans, that we are for the freedom to speak, that you can say what you want. And I understand the argument that Donald Sterling is a representative of the NBA as an owner, and therefore the NBA should have the right to punish him. But I'm really questioning the fact that if I wanted to say something in the public, why should I not be able to say?
You would get the same repercussions as he would.
No, I would
just
not.
in a lesser setting.
In a lesser setting, because you're not the owner of a professional organization. You're just a kid that goes to college. You're just a student. I'm not taking that away from you.
That is what I am. That is the definition of what I am.
We're all students here at College. But if you're Adam Silver, you have every right to go out and protect your brand. He had that right to go out and do it, and he laid down the law.
Exactly.
And listen,
I'm not saying Adam Silver was wrong. He was correct in what he did.
I know.
Completely correct in what he did, especially since these players wouldn't have played the games last night.
They would have had that would have probably been the biggest story in NBA history if they went out and they didn't play the games. But I get what you're saying with the freedom of speech, and I feel like that's good to an extent, because you can't go out and say the things that you can't go to your job, you can't be hired and go in there and say, I don't want to work here because there's black people working. You can't do that. You're gonna get
you can't do that.
You're gonna get fired no matter what. So I get the freedom of speech thing, but it's good to a certain extent, and I feel like that's the thing that you could possibly be missing out on. This is it's just good to a certain extent, because you can't say those things no matter where you are.
I just have a few questions, not for you guys, for the NBA itself.
Oh,
and
are they going to answer?
They're not going to answer. They're rhetorical questions.
I'm kidding.
We're, of course, not going to get answers for them. And my first question is, why now? Why did we wait? And why did we wait until after something was for him to say racist remarks? There have been reports time again that he has had illegal practices with his hiring decisions. He verbally abused Baron Davis while he was on the court for the Clippers. I really question why wasn't something done before. And the excuse by Adam Silver that David Stern was the commissioner and not him, even though Adam Silver was in every meeting that David Stern was in for the past few years.
But how do you know he didn't say something? How do you know he didn't go into the meeting and mention the fact that he did go out and he was verbally abusing players on the court, and maybe it could have just been flown by?
As the moderator of this instant, you have to remember that Donald Sterling also had a run-in with his housing discrimination incident where he was discriminating by race, ethnicity, and color and housing because he was a real estate mogul.
I know there's been other instances where Donald Sterling has been known to verbally abuse players and verbally abuse, like Jonas said, people like that. But I know we shouldn't just overall just blow those things ahead, like behind us, and say because they weren't really necessarily brought out into the public's eye like this is, we should just completely let that go by. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the fact that this instance where his recording was brought out by TMZ and he was recorded saying I hate black people, and Adam Silver even said in his press conference that he did admit to that being his voice. I'm not saying that we should
has not been confirmed though.
Yeah, but Adam Silver did come out in his press conference and said that Donald Sterling admitted that it was his voice.
Okay.
So I'm not saying those other things that you guys mentioned, I'm not saying we should just blow those things over our heads and just completely forget about them. But because this situation right here was brought out to the public's eye like this, I think that made it a bigger reason to suspend him from the NBA.
I have a question for you.
To completely give him a lifetime ban from the NBA.
Our president is African American.
Yes.
And he is technically the owner of the United States. Would you?
That's not true at all.
Then who is?
He is voted for by the people.
Yeah, but for the
there is separation of powers in which the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive can balance each other out.
Then what is it? So Barack Obama's the boss of America.
He's the. If you look at the Constitution, he's the boss of foreign policy. The legislature, Congress decides inside domestic policy.
So if Barack Obama came out and said, I don't want white people in my country, do you think he should be impeached?
I think that politically the Congress would impeach him, but I think that legally, that won't be.
So in a league where 75% of your players are African American, you don't think that 29 other owners are going to go out and not vote against this? Because it's going to happen.
I need to say two things.
It's going to happen.
It is.
Yes,
it is going to happen. But they wouldn't have announced the way they did. Adam Silver wouldn't have done the way he did if he didn't have the owners. I don't think.
So
but where were the owners before?
He only talked to a couple owners.
I'm sorry.
Talked to a couple owners though.
Can I just finish this? Where were the owners before? They are so quick now to stand up and say, "I am not like Donald Sterling. He is not like me." But where were they last year when Donald Sterling was being accused of racist hiring practice? Where were they before?
It wasn't in the NBA.
Why?
He was relating directly to the NBA and his team when he's making racist comments about an NBA.
Comments. You are allowed to
he's
say
a man
what
of power.
you think.
So he's a man of power.
Anybody's allowed to say what they think.
So Adam Silver's just going to be like,
extent.
Adam Silver's just going to say, "Oh, you know what? Yeah. Oh, the Clippers owner's racist. You know what? Let's just keep him in. Why not? It's ruining. If he kept him in, it would ruin the face of the NBA.
Yes.
Ruin the face of the Clippers franchise.
Yes.
They were going to boycott the playoffs until he was
as a person, he is allowed to think.
He can think whatever he wants.
We can think whatever we want, but to a certain extent, we can't go out and say the things that he said when you're
in a social situation. You are not allowed to say it. That is something you cannot say.
I don't think in any situation you're allowed to say it. And he said it, and it was recorded, and it was brought out into the public's eye, and now everyone knows about it.
Here's a
That's
couple.
That's the thing that ruined his chances of owning.
I agree with what you said. Why didn't they act earlier? But it wasn't as severe as this. He literally.
Exactly.
It was the breaking point.
They were nowhere near as being severe as this.
I'm sorry. It wasn't as severe as this.
Okay,
we're talking about something he did that is allegedly illegal. This is not illegal.
No, these more things serious, brought out into the public's eye. What I meant
is more serious to the NBA as a whole and the team.
That is correct.
The housing discrimination has nothing to do with the NBA. Yeah. So Adam Silver can't go and make changes with that.
Okay, can I just make a couple other points?
Yeah,
I think you guys are correct. I think this has been a valuable discussion. Mark Cuban pointed out that it is a very slippery slope to kick Donald Sterling out of the NBA. But other leagues,
I'd agree with that.
It is a slippery slope. I think Mark Cuban's correct with that. But if we look at the other leagues, the NHL, NFL, what does this mean for their owners? Are they going to be looking over their shoulder every time they open their mouth?
They should, because they're in a position where you have to be looking over your shoulders. You have to be paying attention to the people that you're around. You can't go out and say the things that Donald Sterling said because you're in a position where you're the owner of a professional organization.
And okay, so an owner of a professional organization.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm building off. The Washington Redskins. Snyder is the owner. There have been calls for years for the Washington Redskins to change their name because of the offensive part of the Redskins, their team name. Does Dan Snyder have to look now and say they can vote me out of the league? And do the other NFL owners start pressuring him more, because there is precedent in professional sports for owners to not have complete control over their team?
Wait, I have a question. Why did we change off David Sterling?
Donald
Sterling. Excuse me. There's my mess up.
It's not about winning or losing. I'm trying to have an intellectual discussion.
I'm just saying, Saul. Did you get kind of owned by Rahamba and I over here?
I don't think I got owned by anybody. I think
Listen, I get what you're saying about the Redskin thing.
This is about gaining a better intelligence.
I get what you're saying about the whole Redskin thing, but I feel like that's a different thing. I feel like that's a team name, and obviously it's backfire over the years. The Redskin, but I feel like that's just different. I feel like you're not gonna go out and try to get the owner of the Redskins fired or take him out of his job because the team that he owns is called the Redskins. That wasn't his decision.
He didn't pick.
But he's refusing to change it.
But he didn't pick the team name, though. That's the thing. He didn't pick the team name. So
I just want to ask, how is it different?
Because he didn't pick the team. He's not the one that's responsible for the team being called the Washington Redskins. He has the power to change it, and that's a good thing. I feel like they should look into changing the team name. But he has every right to do. He has the right. He didn't pick the team name, and that's not necessarily his main thing to go out and change the team name.
I know you're going to get on me for this, but every Syracuse Orange used to be called the Syracuse Orangemen for a reason. They were on the Onondaga Indian Reservation, and they were the Orangemen. Okay. Derogatory term. They chose as a school to change because it was derogatory. You can make that change if you want to or not. But Snyder had that choice to make, and he said, it's a classic team name. It's the Redskins. Yeah. If we change it, it's going to ruin our franchise. It's going to make us less money. It's a business decision.
So tying this back to Sterling, Snyder is making the decision to be racist by keeping the name the same way. Donald Sterling made the decision to continue to be racist with just by the way he thought about things. Is Snyder going to be kicked out of the NFL because he won't change the team name? Because they seem equivalent the way you are arguing this point.
Snyder didn't make the choice to have the team name.
He has the choice to change it, and by not changing it, he is making the choice to keep it.
But also Sterling made those comments with his own free power, his own free will.
There is nothing wrong with someone making comments.
Salty, when you are in a position of power like Sterling is in, he made that decision. He's suffering the consequences. As an owner in the NBA, as a billion-dollar man, he is held to higher standards than being a racist.
He should be destroyed by people. People should be yelling at him. People should be tearing him down. He should be torn down for what he said, because that was not. If you listen to the full 9 minutes of what he said, it is offensive. But that the institution, an institution in this country can punish someone for what they think, not for their actions, is very concerning to me, and that's my only point.
Listen, Salty, I said it like Daniel Snyder, his main thing shouldn't be, to change the team name because he didn't pick it. But I agree. I agree what you're saying. Like, if you're going to go out and the NBA sent a very strong message of banning Donald Sterling from anything that has to do with the NBA for the rest of his life. If you're a guy like Daniel Snyder now, the message should be sent very clearly that he could possibly be in a deep situation.
Because he should be held to the same higher standard.
If the name Redskins, if a name like that, and if people continue to really press that situation of trying to change the team name, I feel like he could be in a deep situation where he could possibly be pressured into changing the team name for the better.
It's not like changing team names is unheard of in
sports.
Not. It happens all the time. The Pelicans.
And with a name like the Redskins.
The Bobcats to the Hornets.
And with a name like the Redskins, it's a kind of a bigger deal to change that team name.
Exactly. I'm glad we've come to a consensus.
Listen, we've come to a consensus here, and we're just gonna head over to Salty now.
Salty. Let's lighten up the mood a little.
Let's lighten up the mood.
If you guys hear, let's get this interactive. If any of you guys actually listen this far in the podcast.
We really appreciate it.
Yes,
we really appreciate it. If you guys have.
Tweet us your opinions. Tweet us your opinions.
Tweet us at SE16 podcast.
We want to hear.
We want to hear back what you guys think about our ideas
and Donald Sterling and Daniel Snyder.
But this was something we want to hear more importantly from you guys.
What is that?
And that's your opinions on my top 5. Let's go, bringing it back, baby. One last time this year. This time we're closing it out. Top 5 snack foods. All right, we all love food. We all love eating. But what about in between meals time? What are you going to eat that is tasty? I don't care about healthy. I care about
I'm a big Oreo guy. I'm a big double stuffed Oreo guy.
I'm digging the Scooby snacks.
I'm a big double stuffed Oreo fan.
Do not.
I also like the mega stuff.
Ooh, those are too much.
You think?
Those are too much.
Are you guys big fans of birthday cakes?
No,
birthday cake Oreos?
I don't like birthday
cake
Oreos. But you guys are interrupting my segment.
Are we?
You are interrupting my segment. At number 5,
yeah.
Number 5 snack food is popsicles, the summertime treat that everybody loves. The fruit tasting popsicle.
You were hung on popsicles for a week and a half. I think you ate like 3 a day for about a week.
I still have a couple more in my freezer.
Yeah, they are good, salty.
I'm gonna have one.
They're very good.
Yeah, thank you for stealing them from me.
I'm a big fan. All
right, at number 4, moving on beyond popsicles, another cold treat, milkshakes. I love milkshakes with a passion. How great is it? Hot day, you go, you get a milkshake, it cools you down, and they taste amazing. Milkshakes. At number 3.
I like how you just finished that off. Milkshakes.
Milkshakes. Number 3, the classic, who does not love this food? Who does not love this food?
If it's queso,
I don't know.
Chocolate chip cookies. Let's go. Who doesn't love chocolate chip cookies? There is nothing wrong with chocolate chip cookies.
We should try to get Insomnia Cookies to sponsor this show.
We definitely should, because they make chocolate chip cookies, and chocolate chip cookies can make your bad day, your sad day, it can turn that frown upside down, because chocolate chip cookies are beautiful. At number 2, we take it to chips and queso. Who doesn't love when the game is on? Football on the big screen TV. You have Tostitos. You take the chip. You dip it in some queso.
What kind of queso?
Sauce.
You got a bunch of different quesos. You got a bunch of different chips.
I like salsa.
Salsa's good too, but queso's
I'm more
better.
Of a salsa guy.
You dip it in the queso, and you are in love.
I like some chip dip.
I like for during football games. I like those mini hot dogs. You know.
Oh, pigs in a blanket.
Pigs in a blanket.
Pigs in a blanket are amazing.
No.
You get the little tiny ones, so you can have like a bunch of them, and the pigs in a blanket instead of pig in a blanket.
They're a fun time.
And at number 1, the number 1 snack food it was mentioned before rudely by Matt Rahemba a few minutes ago when he brought up Oreos. But Oreos have to be number 1 because they are the best snack food there is.
Amen.
You dip them in milk.
Amen.
You eat them whole. You lick the inside. Whatever you want, Oreos are tasty. They are the best snack food there is, and that is my top 5 snack foods of the day.
And that was the last top 5 of the year.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm going to shed a tear. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it did. So.
All right.
Year and tear do rhyme. Thank you for pointing that out to our listeners.
Shut up, Salty.
Don't tell me to shut up, sir.
Oh God, I knew that was coming. All right.
It had to come out.
One last, sir. One last.
Sir.
All right, Rahemba.
Well, first of all, I feel like I've done this the past 2 episodes, but big thanks to Carl Ravitch, Chris McCullough, Andrew Marchand, Tim Britton,
Tyler Beatty,
and
recently big thanks to Greg Bedard for coming on the show. Guys, fun fact, when I was in first grade.
We don't care, Jonah. Why do you always bring it back to your life? No one cares about that, Jonah.
Greg, I adopted my first ever dog from Greg.
Wait, is he from Oswego?
No, he's from Florida. When he was written for the Miami Dolphins, he lived near my Aunt Stephanie, and we met, and we adopted the dog named Fenway, and it was a heartwarming moment. So that's how I know him. I adopted my first ever dog from him.
And another thing, we are going to do a season recap show that our producer Pete, our lovely producer Pete in there.
He's going to edit together.
He's doing, no, he's not. Yeah. But hey, Pete, he's going to edit together a season recap show. That should be posted in about 2 weeks, so stay tuned.
Keep your eye out for that.
Keep your eye out for that.
Also, another big thanks to Ryan Benelli and Jason Wexler for coming on the shows to help fill in. Fill in, produce. They did great jobs. Always a big thanks to my co-hosts, and I'm their also co-host, Matt Rahemba and Salty Stephen Altieri.
One more thing.
Who has a twin named Malty.
One more thing.
That is true.
So we are going to take June, July, and we'll be back end of August.
Yep.
So stay tuned.
Hopefully we have some
us on Twitter.
Keep following us on Twitter at SE16 Podcast.
Maybe we'll have some things over the summer. Maybe have some special surprises.
Hopefully next year.
Store. Also, another big things that we forgot about. Russ, thank you for the pictures that you're actually taking right now that are going to be up.
Straight out of Newburgh, baby. 845. I love it.
Eric Fat Cars a Day. He came up with our logo. Thank you for that, for the graphics.
I don't think that's how you pronounce it.
That is how you pronounce it.
I think it's
Come on, Pete. This is really awkward.
Hazard. I'm pretty sure.
Faherzadeh.
He has been in multiple classes with me. We are friends on Facebook.
You don't even know his name.
We follow each other on Twitter.
You can't even say the man's name.
It's our producer's roommate next year. He made our SE16 logo. He did a great job. Sorry for mispronouncing your name. It's something that I do very often is mispronounce it. I need to work on that. But so this is the last ever episode of the SE16.
Not ever.
Well,
not ever.
Of
the near future.
Yes, until
we come back in August.
Yeah, so guys, thank you for tuning in for our episodes that we kind of started late in the year. It's been great getting the feedback. Also, big thanks to everyone that big thanks to everyone that we talked about.
Thanks, Mom.
Salty wants to shout out his mom and
shout out to my mom as well and dad.
My mom's probably not going to listen.
Right,
so.
we've been going on. We have so many shout outs. This is 2 full minutes of closing the show.
This is our last episode of the year.
Okay, yeah, we want to make it special.
We want to thank everyone for listening. Okay, thank everyone for coming
on.
For
Jonah Restuccio, for Matt Rahemba, this is Salty Steve Altieri, and that is the SE16 podcast. Thank you for listening, everybody.
No, we're gonna keep going.
We're gonna
keep going.
Sir. So you've never closed.
Yeah, Salty. Yeah, I mean.
Salty. I'm Mariano Rivera. I come in the 9th inning and close the game out. Come on.
What about Papelbon back?
Papelbon stinks now.
Yeah,
he went to Philadelphia.
I agree, Pete. Don't let Salty close out the show.
Yeah. All right, so Rahemba, you want to close this bad boy out?
Sir!
I might as well. Well, first of all, big thanks to all our guests. Big thanks to everyone who tuned in this year and everyone who supported us. But signing out one last time for Jonah Restuccio, Salty Steve, and our producer, Pete, I'm Matt Rahemba, and this is the SE16 podcast.
Salty Steve, number 1.